how to set up .NET 6 with Onion architecture.
You are programming with Palermo. You deliver software. You need to move fast, deliver quality, and run your software with confidence. Stay tuned for timeless solutions, simple methods, and topics that will propel you forward. And now your host, lifelong programmer, author, teacher, coach, Christian, and charismatic speaker, Jeffrey Palermo.
I'm so glad you're with me here on Programming with Palermo. Today we are going to set up a new code base with .NET 6 using the Onion architecture pattern. And you are going to watch me program the nitty, the gritty, however slow it goes, however fast it goes. We're going to go through it. And you know what? I'm not bashful about using some new things that are in preview. So we're gonna go and we're gonna use some of the new project stuff from GitHub. We're gonna see what works out of the box with GitHub Actions and what doesn't. And we're gonna create a new repository, and we're gonna go through all the steps necessary to create a brand new Visual Studio solution. Because for the longest time that I've been using Visual Studio, it's never a one and done perfect where right out of the box, Visual Studio gives you what you need. We're going to create the first stage of continuous integration, which is a private build. And we're going to look at how to manage namespaces and assembly names and just naming things and getting project references and getting our first unit test running against our first class. But we're going to set up the core of an Onion architecture. We're not going to do any interfaces today. So we're not going to be interfacing with any databases or data stores. We're not going to be interfacing with a person by having a screen, which is a user interface. We're not going to interface with any web services or any Azure Service Bus queues or anything. No interfaces today. We're just going to focus on the inner core of our Onion architecture. And then subsequently, we'll come back and we'll add on interfaces and dependency injection and managing the references going towards the center. So let's dive in. And if you want to fast forward through any of the individual steps that I'm going to, no big deal, because today you are going to program with Palermo. So we're going to start and we're going to create our basic Onion architecture for .NET 6. And I'm going to start right here at the GitHub repository. I just created a blank one, threw in a README, license, git ignore. And the first thing that we have to do when working with any kind of code is clone the repository. But we can do that, but then we need to figure out what to do. So I'll come back to that. So let's just do it. Let's go to town. So I copied that. I'm going to go to our Visual Studio, and I didn't open it yet. So Visual Studio 2022 preview, we're going to clone a repository, and the repository location is going to be pasted in there. Okay, and I'm just going to, I'm going to go through GitHub. I'm going to go through GitHub here and Onion architecture, .NET 6. Let's put it in the GitHub spot. Let's clone it. Okay, there's nothing there. It's going to let this finish. So in Solution Explorer, that's all we have. So I'm going to clean this up here, get rid of all that. I don't like a lot of toolbars. I like to be able to maximize the code view. And if I want a toolbar, I can always put it back by finding the right spot here to right click. Actually, I think you have to do view standard toolbars. There we go. View standard toolbar. Okay. All right. So now let's go back and let's go over to projects. See, on issues, I have a few test issues here, but I'm going to create this project. You have to pick something to do. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create an application, and the domain that we're going to choose is a church bulletin. And so on a Sunday morning, we need a printed PDF or a PDF that can be printed for all of the announcements and dates that are happening at the church that week or that month coming up. And also, this application is going to generate digital signage so that at the front of the sanctuary, at the beginning of a Sunday worship service, we actually have automated digital signage that shows that same information. So we're going to manage that information. I wanted to do something interesting as opposed to just a sample piece of software that is totally contrived. So we can really reason about this, and we're going to set up Onion architecture. But anyway, so I have the project, and we're going to use GitHub projects. This is kind of new. It's in preview or beta. You can see it's beta. In my book.NET DevOps for Azure, I go in detail about how to set up Kanban boards with Azure pipelines and Azure boards, and the same things transfer over. So we're just gonna kind of use GitHub for this. We have a Kanban view. I don't have a full team-based Kanban board with different people doing the 3 different types of design decisions, and then internal team testing, user testing, preparing for release. I've just got a 5-stage board right here where to do is basically an idea. Design is that I'm thinking about how I'm going to do it. I'm going to make design decisions. Coding is actually working on the code. And then user testing is I have a build and I'm putting it through its paces, or somebody could be putting it through its paces, and done is that. So we're going to start with that. And for other examples, of course, we would need to flesh that out. So all right, we're going to create a new Onion architecture foundation for this future application in .NET 6. And so let's go on and just move this over to design so that we can think about it. And I've actually already thought about it, and I've created a task list here. We're going to create the new Git repository, which that's done because I cloned it. We have not created the git ignore file, or we haven't looked at it and made sure that it was good enough. We might need to modify it. And then we haven't done anything to the README file, but it's there. But I'm just going to mark those as done because GitHub kind of gives us a starting point. If we need to change them, we'll change them. All right, first thing we're going to do is the Visual Studio solution with the core project. So let's go ahead and do that. So the design is fleshing out all the different parts of this. We're gonna create the core project. We're gonna add a unit test project to it, and then we're gonna create a private build script, and then we're gonna add an integration build through GitHub Actions so that we have a team-based running of the build. Okay, so these are our first 2 parts of continuous integration with Onion architecture. We always start with the core project, and as soon as you have any code, you need unit tests. Now, we're starting with the center of Onion architecture. And if you have not seen at least my overview, go back to that episode where I talk about the theory behind Onion architecture. That's really important. But we're going to start with the core, and then we're going to add some unit tests. We're not going to add any interfaces just yet, so we don't have any other layers of the onion around the core. No interface to data access, no interface to a person, no interface to other computers like web APIs or asynchronous messages. We're just going to have our core, which really could account for the majority of the code in your application if you factor it out right and put your interfaces where they should be. Okay, so we're ready to do some code. Let's move that over. And let's do this. So I think our issue number here, our issue number is 1. Actually, we haven't converted it to an issue. So let's go ahead and do that because it's in draft status. I need to find my Onion architecture repository. All right, now we've converted it to an issue, and I can make a comment, some comment. Okay, there we go. And okay, this is number 3. So this is issue number 3. All right, and because it's an issue, I can go over to repositories, and I should be able to see that number 3. These items here, I'm actually going to remove because those are just playing around with it. Those are junk. All right, create Onion architecture 3 out of 7 tasks. It's number 3 for our Git commits. And we see, okay, Visual Studio solution with the core project is what we're doing. And of course, we want to elevate a task to an issue. We can do that, but we'll just keep them in here. Okay, so let's go over to Visual Studio. And we have this. And so the first thing we're going to do is new. Do it here, add. No, add here. And by the way, this has always been clunky in Visual Studio. We're going to do a new Visual Studio solution, which of course we have to go to new project and new solution. And so we're going to do solution, blank solution. This is always better to do it this way because we need our source folder. Okay, and the solution name is going to be Church Bulletin. We're going to use it Onion architecture style, and there's going to be a new solution. This is actually not where it is. We're going to create it in Onion architecture.net 6. Let me just verify this. Let me verify that this is where it is. Let's see. Copy, open folder, File Explorer. Okay, so actually it's in here. So this is where we want to do it. All right, let's do that again. Blank solution. There we go. Church Bulletin. And we want to put it here. Let's just verify. Yep, we're going to put it there. Actually, we want to put it one level down because we want a source folder. So it's going to be inside source. Okay. So let's select that folder, create a new solution, go ahead and create. All right. Now we have that solution. Great. And let's go ahead and create a new project. Notice in the solution, it doesn't even ask us a .NET version. So I'm going to say a new project, and this is going to be a regular class library. And I want to make sure, look at all these templates here. Class library, C#. So you have so many older .NET framework, and yep, okay. So we're going to use the basic C# class library. We're going to call this core because I want to give it a name that is very short for the Solution Explorer. I don't like to have fully qualified project names because they just get clunky. You have church bulletin dot core or something, so. And for the path, I do like to have I don't like this. Look at what Visual Studio did to me. I selected a folder and then it chose to put it inside of a folder. So now we have to correct this. All right. It created a folder for the solution. That's not cool. All right, let me back out of this. Close solution. By the way, you are programming with Palermo. These are actual issues you're going to encounter. So let me, actually, we already have this open. Source. See, I don't like, every time I create a new Visual Studio solution in projects, I always have to do some manual munging of files because I don't want to have this nested. I want it to be in source. Okay, so now we've moved it. We're going to open it back up. We're going to add new project, class library. This is going to be core. Next, .NET 6. Yep. Actually, .NET 6, sometimes when I create a .NET Core project, I'll choose Net Standard 2.1. All right. But I'm going to choose .NET 6. Let's go ahead and create that. All right, namespace is core. Of course, we're going to have to fix that right away. So let's look. I always look at some of the properties inside here, and none of them are going to be relevant just yet. I'm going to have an Alt Enter. Okay. And class library .NET 6. Okay. This didn't used to be this way, but I'm not sure where it came about. .NET 5 maybe, but the assembly name is just the project name, and then project name replacing spaces. So I don't want the project name to be the assembly name in all cases, or sometimes I want them to be different. So I am going to choose the namespace to be different from the assembly name in a few cases, but for now I'll make them the same. But I need to say programming with Palermo church bulletin . All right, so that's going to be the default project. Now, if I had made the project name instead of just core, if I had made the project name programming with Palermo church bulletin, then it would have put this in automatically. These are some of the things you have to do. Okay, so I believe that's all we're gonna do now. So close out of this. Inside CS prod. Yep, that's gonna be good. Okay, notice ReSharper already tries to help us. Alt Enter. We're gonna fix the namespaces. Move to. Yep, we're gonna move to that namespace. Okay, good. So now I have my first class. Of course, I don't need that one, but we'll come back to it. And let's go ahead and add a new project here, our unit tests. So I've already used it in unit test project. Okay. We have MS test, NUnit, XUnit. XUnit, I'm really close to kind of going to XUnit, and I was just about to pull the trigger because it didn't look like NUnit was going to be maintained as a first-class citizen, but then it did, and so NUnit is just everything in the test world. Absolutely everything works with NUnit. And so, the advantages of, okay, XUnit versus NUnit, even within Microsoft, there's a lot of teams that use XUnit, but then there's a lot of teams that use NUnit. So you really can't go wrong, but make sure that you have tests. I'm just going to choose NUnit, and I'm going to call it unit tests. And I look at the path. It always creates a new project for me. So, okay, and create. All right, before I even do anything here, I want to go to my folder structure. Yep, that's what I expect. I expect my get ignore, and then I expect a source folder. Inside source, I expect the solution, and then I expect a project or a folder per project. So we are good there. Okay, and what it gives me is a unit test, and it gives me the global usings. Okay, so that's great. I need to set up references. So, by the way, I'm hitting Shift F10. I really love Shift F10 just to pull up these. So I need to add a reference, add a project reference. So put it in here. The more I can keep my hands off the mouse, and there's so many dialogues that pop up here where you really do have to use the mouse. But when you're working with code and options, I try to keep my hands on the keyboard. So we are going to reference core. Okay, so that worked. And to prove, Shift Alt L to prove that, I think in class 1. Yep. So new class 1, pull that off into a variable, and last one. I need a library here just to make sure that I can start doing unit tests. So manage NuGet packages. You can't add, yeah, it's right here. And we're going to go ahead and browse. I like the assertions of shouldly and personal preference. I'm not going to say there's an architectural little bit of history. The should library was put out by my good friends Eric Hexter and Tim Scott, and then the shouldly library actually kind of became more popular. So you can see this has 1.6 million downloads, says 22 million, and it's been more aggressively maintained. So okay, this depends on .NET Standard. Yep, we're good. Let's go ahead and install it. Go ahead and accept. Oh, syntax errors because I didn't finish. Is that going to be an issue? Should not be null. All right, should not be null. Save, and then we want to run this here. Okay, so you can run it. Make sure and I am using the ReSharper.NET runner. I'm using .ultimate from JetBrains just so you can see these add-ons. I mean, I've been using ReSharper since 2013. So, all right, test passed. We're good there. So let me just go back to our issue, Visual Studio with Core Project, add unit test project. Okay, I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to do my first git commit. All right, I'm going to do number 3 because issue number 3 added new solution core project unit test project. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to fix the namespaces. Some of you are yelling out, fix the namespaces. Right there, unit tests. Okay. So, I always like to make sure I don't make a typing mistake. So when I can copy a piece of text, and go ahead and paste those there, and paste those there, save, and yeah, nice, okay. And then inside here, yep, and it says I need to change the default namespaces, move the namespace, okay, good, save, Control B, Control Shift B, and then we're gonna run the test again. All right, that's good. So now we're going to commit. All right, so unit test project, commit. All right, I look at everything that I'm committing, just make sure there's no surprises. Unit test backup CS proj. I wasn't expecting that. No, I don't want that committed. If you don't understand a file, do not commit it. So let me go ahead and delete this. All right, just to make sure, Control Shift B. Okay, so I expect all the other things and go commit and push. Okay, so resolving successfully pushed. And we are not going to create a pull request just yet because I'm not done with the whole issue. I do a pull request at the level of the issue. And I'm not talking about Git in this particular example, so I'm not doing feature branches, but I did do those. So now we're going to add a private build script. Okay, this is another thing that Visual Studio doesn't really give us a lot of help with, so I'm going to go back to Explorer, and I want it to be right here. So there is actually another there's build scripts are so standardized here that you really don't need to author a build script by yourself. You can just let GitHub create the default actions and fix the .NET 5 to .NET 6 reference, and Azure Pipelines also does that as well. But then you can only run it in that environment. You need a script that you can run locally. So I'm going to pull one over, and then we're going to modify it, because that's really what always ends up happening. Okay, so build. Actually, I'm gonna pull over a set of files that always end up being copied around. And so let me just do that. A set of helpers. Okay, I'm gonna copy and I'm gonna paste these in. Okay, now just move these over, and I want to all right, let's just one at a time. So actually, I'm going to add them to solution item. Add new solution item, new solution folder, existing item. Okay, let's come up here. Let's do that, and that. You know what? I like doing the README as well. Okay, so now these are the solution items. So let's open up build.bat. Build.bat is really just PowerShell saying let's execute private build.ps1. Okay, build.bat. And then click to build.bat is basically it's a batch file. It's adding the pause. That gives you the ability to double click and open up a command prompt, run it. That's always useful because it takes one step out of it. Okay, but click to build.bat is just for local, and then private build. Let's open up this is a PowerShell file. This basically includes our overall build script in PowerShell syntax, and then calls the private build task. Okay, and then build functions themselves. Really, there's an exec function that allows us to execute a command line, and every time we execute something that's a command line tool, which in real software you do this all the time, you need to take the error codes and translate them into PowerShell exceptions. Otherwise, your build servers won't operate correctly. And then poke XML, any particular functions that are useful to your build script, but you don't want them cluttering up your build script. Things like this, you don't want that in your build script. You want your build script to talk about your software only. So now let's get to the actual build script itself. And I'm just going to start changing things. This is, the project name is Church, I'm on caps lock, Church Bulletin. Okay. And actually, because it looks for the project name.solution, we're going to be, oh, no, it is Church Bulletin. Okay. And source directory, unit test path is here. Now, these here, I'm actually, I'm going to leave them in because we are going to create integration tests, and we are going to create acceptance, full system acceptance tests. UI path, project path, these I'm gonna go ahead and just clean it up for now because we don't need them just yet. All right. When I build and test, these are directories that we're going to put test artifacts in. We're not doing anything database just yet, and we're not doing anything with build versions just yet. So actually, I'm gonna leave this in because we're gonna come back pretty quick. All right, init, that's kind of like a clean. We're cleaning things, and so see, we're executing .NET clean. .NET is an exe, so if there's an error, we're wrapping it in the exec command because we're going to need to translate it to our PowerShell. And so what we're doing is we're cleaning. Then we're going to do a restore, which does the NuGet restore. Okay, a little bit of help for project config and the version. Then we're going to do our compile .NET build, and of course this has all the command line switches that you really want in private build, but you don't need to go authoring them all the time. Authors, oh, and you can see this is from a donated clear measure project, but programming with Palermo. The product name is Church Bulletin. Things like this. You just kind of do this. And okay. And then our unit tests. Yeah, we want our unit test path. And so this is a task to run the unit test with all the goodness of popping out code coverage and everything that you want to do there. Integration test, I'm going to leave that in there, and then there's some database stuff. We're going to take packaging out of here because we don't need it yet. And now if I was going to add it back in just within an hour, I'd leave it in there. So now what we have some things that change from project to project at the top, and then most of the rest of this is from project to project. I can't tell you how many projects going back to 2003 even, where the structure of the build script was generally like this. Now PowerShell didn't exist in 2003. Regular command line batch scripts, and then make files, and then NANT. Inant was hugely popular, and then PowerShell. So we're gonna kind of do a clean and restore. Then we're gonna do our compilation, and then we're gonna run unit tests. We're gonna have an integration test so quickly, I'll leave that in. And so our private build is what we're running: init, compile, unit test. Actually, I need to get rid of this, and I need to get rid of this because it's not even, and then it's not even applicable because we don't have it yet. All right, and we're creating this. All right, so if we save all that and then come back here, what are the chances that it works the first time? Click to build.bat. Just by pasting, something's gonna blow up. There's no way it works the first time. Wow. Okay. Build took 7 seconds. Well, there we go. So that is our build script. I'll press the key. There we go. So let's go ahead and commit that. All right, commit, and number 3, added private build script with compilation and running of unit tests. Okay, and look at all the files. Okay, so we have build artifacts, and we have the TRX files that are generated to be able to have the test results be in a runner, like for Azure Pipelines or GitHub Actions or TeamCity. All right, so we need to ignore this. So let's go ahead and ignore these local items. And now that's going to modify this. So check this out. We're gonna compare with unmodified, and we can see that we have added build/test. Okay, so that's good. All right, and we expected all the rest. So that's good. Commit all and push. All right, so let's go back to GitHub, add private build script, and that's good. I'd like to come back here and open this back up again. All right, we're tracking it. Okay, let's see if this works. Add integration build through GitHub Actions. So we're going to go to Actions, and we're going to, now you could start with this .NET action, but it's going to call .NET for you. So I wonder if any of these are more appropriate. Label, understand, greeting. Oh, continuous integration. Let's look at these. I just want to run a command line, but it does need to have all the .NET dependencies. MS build-based projects. You know what? Let's go ahead and start with this, and then we'll change it. Okay. So uses action setup.net. Okay, run. Instead of running .NET restore, let's go ahead and run, which one should we run command line? Let's go back here. Let's see, build.bat. We might need to run build.bat. Let's test it out. Run build.bat. I'm not sure if we can run a PowerShell directly here, but let's see, the name is running the, first of all, we're going to run the build script. Okay, we can get rid of that and get rid of that because it's already built in. It's built in, so setup.net uses that. Okay, well, let's give it a shot. If it doesn't work, we will come back to this. File. Okay, so now if I go to actions, it is creating this. Oh, it's not going to work the first time because it's still in .NET 5. That's an error with the, I started the job. View workflow file. .NET version. See, so this template has not been updated yet. The template is still at 5, not at 6. So let's commit that. Let's go back to actions. See, it failed. Let's look at the error message and process. .NET 5 no longer supported. Yep. Okay. So this is running. Okay, let's see what it does. See if it fails on build script. Setup.net should be fine. Error, please process complete. Yeah, so what do we need here? Run build.bat. Build.bat command not found. Oh, okay. This is a Linux basher, so we need to run PowerShell. Okay, so we need to adapt it for GitHub Actions. But if we're running in Azure pipelines, then it would be just fine. So we're gonna come back and we're gonna adapt it here because I'd like it running in GitHub Actions, but with Azure pipelines, this goes straight in there, so that's good. Okay, so in this case, but what I would really do here is the integration build. I'm gonna promote this to an issue. And okay, so now it's its own issue. How does that look? Oh, not here. Issues. Okay, so add integration build through GitHub Actions. All right, but in our repository, in our code, we have the private build that can run locally. Just to actually, I do want to prove that. So I changed something. Okay, it ran again. It's saying you're using a preview version of .NET because I'm running Visual Studio 2022 preview. Okay, that's good. So we have our source, we have our core project, we have our unit test project. Okay, this is the beginning. We are starting to create the foundation of Onion architecture, and we'll come back and progress by adding our first interface. Well, we have just gone through all the steps to start from an absolutely empty Git repository, just initialized from GitHub, and how to manage the first issue cards on a basic Kanban board, setting up Visual Studio, the core project of an Onion architecture code base, the first unit tests, We went through and saw how easily a private build script really falls into place. And I cannot stress, you need to have a build script for yourself that every developer on the team runs even before deciding to commit the code. Okay. We also saw that it doesn't drop into place naturally with GitHub Actions. We're going to come back and have to do some interesting things to get it running in an integration setting so that we can have a team-based integration build using GitHub Actions. But we're going to come in a subsequent episode. We're going to tackle that. And God bless, and thanks for programming with Palermo.
You've been watching Programming with Palermo, your primary place for highly productive programming protocols and practices. Remember, you have what it takes. You can do this. You are a programmer, formed by God Himself and called to this profession for a purpose. You can catch every episode at palermo.network as well as syndicated locations nationwide. We're so glad you tuned in. Until next time, may God bless you, and thanks for Programming with Palermo. Programming with Palermo has made a special arrangement with Marketplace Chaplains. Besides programming challenges, we all face issues in life where we need some help. If you'd like, you can call a chaplain confidentially. To speak with a gentleman, dial 512-923-8178. Or to speak with a lady, dial 512-619-6950. The show won't know you called, and everything is kept in strict secrecy. This is a free service, available if you or a friend need it.